What is up? Welcome in, guys. This is Locked On West Virginia. On this episode of Locked On West Virginia, who's talking crap? It's not the West Virginia side, I'll tell you that. We're going to have more on that. We're going to talk about freshmen who could step up against Albany and UConn no longer good in the conversation here on. So what's going to happen with that? Well, we're going to talk about that too, of course, on this episode of Locked On West Virginia. Appreciate you guys for being patient. I was trying to figure out my layouts. Couldn't do it. All right. We'll be right back.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. What is up? Welcome in, guys. My name is Mountaineer Paul. This is another edition of Locked On West Virginia. And while my layout isn't totally perfect, hopefully you can see beside me a little bit there. I'm going to have to ask somebody to show me how to get that to show up because I tried everything. It's why I was late. But somebody's talking crap, you know. This time it's not on the West Virginia side. We're going to get into that. What freshman could step up for the West Virginia Mountaineers in this game? Did you ever think about that? Because there are a few. Of course, somebody texted me right in the middle. Let me turn this off. There are a few freshmen to be excited about, I feel like, going forward. Josiah Trotter, namely. Obviously one of the big names. And then UConn is on hold. That's big news from today, but everybody's covered it. It's oversaturated, so I didn't even do a show on it. But I will have an opinion on it. We'll talk about that. So, you guys know I have people that I speak to, people that I talk to, and so a former Pitt player has told me today, word on the street, and you guys know, if you've been watching this show for any amount of time, at all, you'll know that I've showed screenshot after screenshot after screenshot. My credibility is there when it comes to this kind of stuff. I don't really need to defend it, but I feel like I'm going to preface it with that. So, former Pitt player told me today that the word on the street at Pitt is that West Virginia is soft and that they were exposed versus Penn State. And that's going to show up again against a usually pretty hard-nosed squad that Narduzzi coaches. And that's how they feel. And they feel like the loss of Zach Frazier is a huge reason for that. Is this blurry? No? Okay. They feel like Frazier is a huge reason for that. They feel like he was the toughness of this team, if you will. And it's a theory, right? If I was on the other side and I was going to analyze us in reverse, I could see that being a viable theory, right? Zach Frazier, one of the toughest SOBs I have ever seen in a Mountaineer uniform, and losing him, in theory, could make us a little bit less tough, right? And so that's what people on Pitt's campus think, that West Virginia's lost some toughness. Curious to know, do you feel the same? Like the video, let me know, guys. Hit that like button as we're talking. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and if you're new around here, and share the video out across the internet. Let's get this thing out there. Let people see it. Let's see what people have to say about this very subject. I found it to be very interesting. So that is what they're telling their players, that West Virginia is soft. I found that to be very interesting. So do you think West Virginia is soft? Do you think that the way that the Penn State game went proves that to be true? Because I don't. I think we ran into a team that first of all, we just had a lot of mistakes. Soft or not, mistakes are going to put you in bad spots. Outside of that, I think we had we lined up against a team that had better players than us in a lot of spots too. And the short yardage situation is one that I've been told that they go to say, look, last year this West Virginia team, they pick up that short yardage, 1 yard. Like even I can admit our 1 yard touchdown run with CJ wasn't a touchdown. Obviously they had stuff that they didn't get either, but I'm just pointing out for the soft argument. They're pointing like we had 3 or 4 chances in short yardage situations. We got stopped on 4th down, I think twice, and that it should have probably been 3 times, right? So I think I could see why our toughness would be questioned in this situation. So I think that's what they're telling these guys, and they want to attack that, right? My question to Pitt people are, when did you become so tough? Like, I'll give it to you. West Virginia may have lost a little bit of toughness with the loss of Zach Frazier and even Doug Nestor. But they're not soft. They're not soft. West Virginia is not a softball club. Wyatt Milam, easily one of the toughest linemen in the country. I think Tomas Remak has a nasty streak in him, and so does Brandon Yates. So this is fuel for the fire of the West Virginia Mountaineers offensive line, in my opinion. The defensive line got bullied around, they say. I've got an entire paragraph of stuff that he said, this gentleman is saying that it would very much know. He was a starter for several years at Pitt, left, and is extremely you could say he's not happy with them over there, but obviously has a lot of friends in Pittsburgh. So I found that to be really interesting. And I had to basically beg to be able to go live with this information, and he gave me permission as long as I didn't put his name out there. So that was what I did. But obviously, I take things like this with a grain of salt. Hopefully, he doesn't get mad at me for saying that. I don't think he's lying at all, but I think it's it's something that it's not like Narduzzi is at the press conference saying this, right? It's not like that kind of bulletin board material. But I do believe him 100%. And it does sound like something Narduzzi would say. I mean, come on. It's like he doesn't mince his words. And so I think he probably believes it. There is no former Pitt player telling you this, brother. Come on. I wouldn't make it up, JJ. You know what I mean? I would never make something like this up. At the end of the day, my credibility speaks for itself, brother. I put screenshots of dozens of conversations up on here. It's not like people talk, man. People get disgruntled, people talk. That's what happened in this situation. It's not the end of the world. So my question is, to piggyback off of this theory, is West Virginia soft? I think you can look back at that game. Like I said, I pointed back at some of the short yardage situations there. At the end of the day, I think we just played against a better football team. But could Pitt look at that and think that West Virginia is soft? I think so. I think there are some things there that you can look at and say, well, they're not like we were last year. Like I said, the loss of Zach Frazier was big. He's in Pittsburgh playing for the Steelers now. So there are some things there. And short yardage has been a problem. The red zone's been a problem on the defensive line. They got pushed around a little bit against an offensive line that it isn't exactly, veteran, not a lot of starts. So I found that to be interesting whenever he texted me that, because I just wasn't expecting it. I tried to get him for an interview, but it just didn't work out that way. So I don't know, man. And I don't know. Like I said, grain of salt. You have to take these things with a grain of salt. I don't know what kind of, if any, motive he might have there, but, I don't know, you just, like I said, take it with a grain of salt. So, but it did lead me to think about it further, and look back at some of the short yardage stuff and why maybe they would think that. Oh, my microphone's about to fall here. And so I figured I'd come on here and talk about it. Why is everybody so doom and gloom about losing to Penn State? I mean, I don't think it's, it was just the hype, right? It was the lead up and then the way everything just kind of happened. I wouldn't say that it's doom and gloom, but or at least it is, but it's really not. You know what I mean? Like, I think we're going to be okay going forward. But it was the whole week of the McAfee show and all that leading up. I think that had a lot to do with it. You know what I mean? So don't get too bent out of shape over it. I mean, at the end of the day, all we can do is prove it on the field. And I think we're going to have a couple chances to do that here coming up. So excited to see what this team looks like. All right, guys, up next on Locked On West Virginia, we are going to be talking about freshmen who could step up in the game versus Albany and beyond. We're going to be using an article. I think it's from Skylar Callahan, although I'm not 100% sure, so stick around for that. We're also going to be talking about the UConn situation and anything else you guys want to talk about. That's all up next on Locked On West Virginia. This episode of Locked On West Virginia is brought to you by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers have bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon game out of market game. All you need to do is have a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. And if that's not enough, FanDuel also has something special for our listeners this weekend. Be sure to check out FanDuel's Profit Boost in the app and use it for FanDuel's Double Your Winnings for all Sunday 9-8 pre-games moneyline bets. Profit Boost will be starting live Friday 9-6 and view your account page. Now learn more about your boost. Just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. You can visit FanDuel.com to look at the odds right now. All right, my microphone fell right in the middle of that ad read. That was great. See if I can get it back on here as we talk. Sorry about that, y'all. I don't know what I've been told. I may just have to hold the mic here. Good Lord. How did that happen? I've had this up for months. It's never fell one time. Okay, well, I guess I'm holding it. My apologies, y'all. What a mess. All right. Sorry, guys. This is really professional looking, huh? All right. We'll just hold it right here. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Stephen Keel. Pitt would get the same treatment from Penn State. The Pitt team and their 10th fans know it. Wow. Interesting. Interesting comments. All right. Let's get this Skylar Callahan article up and going here. All right. Yeah, this is from Skylar Callahan, and I'll share it as well. Give me 1 second here. All right. This is an article that Skylar Callahan, I believe it's Skylar Callahan, wrote 5 hours ago. This is on West Virginia Mountaineers SI on SI. And it says 9 WVU true freshmen who can make a move this Saturday. Okay, it's on there. West Virginia will play host to FCS opponent Albany this Saturday, and assuming all goes according to plan, the Mountaineers should be able to get their second, third, and fourth stringers a lot of work. Which true freshman should you have your eyes on? I've got 9 names for you. Running back Dior Hubbard. Hubbard isn't a huge back, but he gets downhill in a hurry and doesn't do a whole lot of dancing around the backfield. A smooth operator who will have a big role down the road, potentially as a starter. Pick WVU over Appalachian State, Ball State, Bowling Green, Central Michigan, Coastal Carolina, James Madison, Kentucky, Marshall, Massachusetts, Miami of Ohio, Toledo, Western Michigan. And I do like Hubbard's game. He is definitely a shifty back or a power back. He's more of a power back. He does not dance around too much, but I do like his game. Travion Dunbar is more of a physical back than even he is, in my opinion, which is second on the list. And it says Dunbar is a really intriguing back. He has a physical running style and doesn't hesitate to hit the hole. I don't like making comparisons, but I will here. Reminds me a lot of Bartell Petaway, who was with the Mountaineers from 16 to 19. That's an interesting comparison. He picked WVU over Appalachian State, Arkansas, Boston College, Eastern Kentucky, Georgia State, Liberty, Maryland, Michigan State, Ole Miss, Penn State, and Virginia Tech. So you got a lot of pretty big offers. I think this is one, if you had to put market down, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be a star, in my opinion. This is Day Farmer at number 3. Farmer is one of the most explosive playmakers this coaching staff has recruited since 2019. When it's all said and done, he may leave as the most productive wide receiver they've had under Brown and company. He has the skills you can't teach. Arguably the best speed of what West Virginia receiver has had since Tavon. And no, I'm not comparing him to the Mountaineer legend whatsoever, although he kind of did, Skyler. He picked WVU, Appalachian State, Arkansas, Boston College, Eastern Kentucky, Georgia State, Liberty, Maryland, Michigan State, Ole Miss, Penn State, Virginia Tech. Oh, that's the same guys last time. I was going to say, I know he didn't have all them small schools. Pick WVU over Arizona State, Georgia Tech, Iowa State, Miami, Michigan State, Missouri, Penn State, Pitt, Texas A&M, Virginia Tech, and I'll add, if it doesn't say it on here, UCF. He actually flipped to West Virginia over UCF, so that was a big for us. Here's another one, Brandon Raymond. Raymond has a chance to really make a move this week and set himself up for more playing time as the season moves along. This coaching staff has been impressed with him early on, but he needs to show something in this game to earn that trust. Picked us over a lot of people. He was a 4-star player. A lot of people don't talk about him as much as they do Day, which, Day-Day's just obviously on tape. He's a lot more fancy, I guess you could say, and stands out a lot. But Raymond played at St. Joseph's Prep, and that's a big-time school in Pennsylvania that where the best players in the state play. A lot of them play there. All right, so Jack Samarco, which is an interesting name that you heard a lot about in camp, somebody I'm interested to see more of as a tight end. Most tight ends take a couple years to get acclimated to the physicality of major college football, but Samarco came in ready to contribute and will likely, without question, see some playing time this Saturday. Cole Taylor and Trailer Davis are the top 2 tight ends, but WVU is hoping to find a third option in that room. Can Samarco be it? Here's a guy that we heard a lot about in camp as well with Nate Gabriel. WVU failed to get much push up front against Penn State, generated absolutely zero pass rush. I think that will change this week, and Gabriel could be a part of that in the second half. WVU really needs another body on the interior to feel good about its depth, so a solid outing from Gabriel could be that first step. Pick WVU over Arkansas State, Central Michigan, Coastal Carolina, a lot of other schools there. Elijah Kinsler is another name that's interesting. Flashed during fall camp, catching the attention of the coaching staff. He's one of those guys like Gabriel above who are potentially ready to help WVU this season, but may be a year away. You won't get all of your answers against Albany, but he'll give you an idea. Listen, Albany has 3 starters off of their 5 back from last year, off a team that almost won the FCS National Championship. And Neil Brown says can play in our league. Take that for what you will, but they've got a good at least three really good pieces on the offensive line. And will be a decent test. I think that's a storyline that a lot of people don't know or are not talking about, just because not everybody knows about Albany. Obinna Onwuka, which is a Spur now, which is wild because I thought he was going to be a pass rusher extraordinaire coming in. The Mountaineers only have 2 options at Spur right now, Tyron Bradley and Ty French. The Wookiee I'm thinking of Bandit. Onwuka has the looks of a multi-year starter, but it will greatly impact WVU's depth if he's able to find a role this season, even if it's just a handful of snaps per game. And then Zay Jennings, who flashed as much as anybody else in camp. Jennings is one of the most talked about freshmen on the roster, and is someone the staff is really counting on to break through and play a critical role behind Aubrey Burks this season. The thing about Zay Jennings, too, is he really is one of those players that's not playing so much with his head as much as just he's like a trained rabbit. Ball. He goes after it. He's extremely aggressive. All right. What's up, Matt? WVN13, thank you very much. What does everyone think the score against Albany should be to feel comparable going to Pitt, comfortable going into Pitt, the Pitt game next week? I don't think there is a score personally that I would feel 100% comfortable going into that game with, because it's just apples to oranges comparison. Just like a team like Marshall could go out and dominate an FCS team. It's just not a great barometer for what you're going to do. Now, you can look at if you know how to watch schematically what the team's up to, what they're doing, yeah, you could possibly do that. It makes you see some improvements that way, because there were guys out of place against Penn State. Obviously, some fits were off in that game. People were overrunning the ball a little bit. Obviously, in coverage, we got a lot to fix. So, you can look at that from that aspect and see if guys are in the right places and get excited about it. But as far as we're probably going to dominate this game, WVU fan 13. And I don't know how much you can really take from it. It's a good question. And I don't know the answer to it myself. But, you would, if it's close at all, then you feel bad, right? That's for sure. That's one thing you can say, is if this game is close at all, then you really have to start to feel bad about it. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, something like that, Timothy. 56-13 Albany. All right, guys. Up next on Locked On West Virginia, we're going to talk a little bit about you saw the stories today. UConn, and they're on hold with the Big 12. We thought they were pretty much a sure thing. Turns out not to be so much the case. What's going on with that? We talk about that for about 5 minutes on the other side of this on Locked On West Virginia. This episode of Locked On West Virginia is brought to you by LinkedIn. When you're hiring professionals for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. They help you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else. Even those who aren't actively searching for a new job might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. They hire professionals, like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. So LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, which makes the process easier and quicker. That means that 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, and in our final segment, we talk a little bit about the UConn thing, if you want to. We can talk about whatever else you want. I just typed that in because I wanted to have another topic just in case we kind of got soured on the other two. All right. West Virginia beats Alabama. I see where you had an autocorrect, Matt. 61-17, it shows our depth. Well, we hope so. We hope that's what happens. All right. Let's get over here to X really quick. There's a bunch of different articles on it, but let's just see what we can find. Big 12. Big 12. UConn. All right. This is from 7 hours ago, although I think it was McMurphy that I saw put it out. Who knows? UConn plans to move to the Big 12 were canceled due to their football programs lacking NIL funding and poor performance on the field per source. UConn will have another chance to pinch the conference in about 10 to 12 years, according to them. That's insane. That's there's no way that's going to be true. I mean, it might be, but 10 to 12 years? Come on. So here's John Rothstein, and he's definitely credible. We'll go ahead and read this quote. Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark has released a statement. As commissioner, it is my responsibility to explore a variety of value-creating opportunities on behalf of the Big 12. Following detailed discussions with my conference colleagues alongside UConn leadership, we have jointly decided to pause our conversations at this time, and we will instead focus our attention and resources to ushering in this new era of college athletics. Interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. Am I surprised by the Big 12 news? No. So there's them. When UConn to the Big 12 talks have stalled following detailed discussions of my conference, which we just read that. So interesting stuff here. Obviously, it's my responsibility to explore a variety of value-creating opportunities on behalf of the league, following detailed discussions with my conference colleagues alongside UConn leadership. Okay, so that's what I get from this. I mean, this is me reacting in real time somewhat. I haven't had a chance to really dig into this stuff yet today. I'll be honest. To me, this just sounds like he got told no. I think he wasn't. I mean, and if this is a popular take that everybody else already has, forgive me, but it looks to me like it sounds like Yormark was basically the president's basically said we don't want this, and especially in West Virginia's case, although Red Baker wasn't around for it, we were here the last time the Big East crumbled because we were bringing in basketball-only schools. I've said this multiple times. I know it's an old take, but for me, dude, I watched as West Virginia in a position of power in the Big East. We were the top dogs. We were the front runners to win it every single year, just about. And then these schools that had basketball only had these votes, whether it was Villanova or whoever. And when football, which was important, came up, West Virginia, it didn't benefit us, the talks that were happening at the time, right? And so basketball decisions were made in a conference with both football and basketball centric programs. And that's the conundrum you can get yourself into. Obviously, I looked at it the other day. If you look at the Big 12, let me ask you this. Let's look at the Big 12 as a whole really quick. 1 second. All right, so let me share this screen with you really quick. If you look at the Big 12 conference as a whole, right, you've got Arizona, Arizona State, BYU, Baylor, Cincinnati, Colorado, Iowa State, Kansas. We know who's all in here, right? If you look it up and down this list, tell me who is a basketball program in your opinion and who's a football program. Because, people think it's not, it's already pretty skewed if you really want to get down to it. If you made Arizona choose between football and basketball, which direction are they going? Yeah, they're good in football right now. They are. But this is a basketball school. Make no mistake about it. And it's not necessarily that close. Arizona State, what about them? I think they're probably a football program, but it's not like, in my opinion anyways, it's not 100%. BYU is a football school. Baylor is a basketball school, right? So is Cincinnati. Colorado is a football school. Iowa State is a basketball school, right? In my opinion, they have football, but listen, they've had way more success in basketball in their history. We know the answer at Kansas, right? So that's already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 basketball schools at conference. I would consider Kansas State both, but I would lean. It's a tough one with them, but I guess, I don't know what they would say. I'll say football. I think they probably care about football a little more there, but I don't know this. Look who their coach is right now, too. They've got one of the hottest coaches in the country, really in both sports, but definitely in basketball. So it's a tough one. Oklahoma State is football. TCU is football. Texas Tech, they've got Mahomes and all that, which helps. But I would say their basketball, they've got a very strong basketball program, and that's something to be kind of look at. But I would say football for them. UCF is football. Utah's football. Houston is basketball, right? And West Virginia is both, but football heavy, more football. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and possibly, and you got 7. So you've got at least 6 or 7 that are basketball centric, in my opinion, and then a couple others that are like 50-50, right? So if you add, Houston had a Heisman winner, but they're definitely 100% a basketball school right now. It's just what they are. It's just the truth, This isn't the same Houston. But like I said, there are going to be teams that are 50-50 in this. But and maybe some of these basketball schools like Kansas that's good in football now. Kansas is a bad example because they're probably always going to pick basketball. But let's say Arizona State got really good at football again. They would probably pick football, But if whatever sport they're good in is probably what they would be. But my point here is if you add a basketball only like UConn, do you give them a full vote anyways? That was a question I had that I never got an answer to. And I was curious about, if you add a UConn, are they football only, basketball? Are they basketball only? And if they are, what kind of vote do they get? Because that's a scary situation for me, as the way the Big East ended up. I've said that a few times on here, but I'll say it again. It's one of those things that you worry about, at least in my situation as a West Virginia fan. So, yeah, I disagree with that, Matt. We're not a basketball. We're both, but we're I think 80% of the fans would choose football. We've also had more success in football. Like I say, we're both. I love both. I do. I love both. But football is where it's at, And I can just tell you based off of YouTube, it's about 50% more viewership, So, like, people care about it. But, like, just the Penn State game alone, I got probably 30,000 more views in the week of that than I did when the Bob Huggins story broke for basketball. And I've got a basketball-only channel, at Hoops for the Hills. So I know pretty well, at least by being fan response, how they respond to certain things. And the Bob Huggins news was big. It was nationwide. And the Penn State game absolutely dwarfed it this week as far as viewership goes, at least from my perspective. Right, we played national championship games in football. We should have played two, And then there's one that they say we should claim. I have no idea. All right, so interesting enough, guys. I appreciate you guys for joining this episode of Locked On West Virginia. Try to keep this to 30 minutes. We got to get out of here. But I thank you guys for coming in tonight, joining me and talking about this. The Narduzzi stuff is interesting. I don't know what to make of that, and I'll check back with the source on that. But I did find it to be interesting. So hope you guys enjoy it. Keep coming back as always. Share the video out, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I want to thank you guys for being here for me for this. Before you go, though, I want to let you know one thing really quick. Thank you for making me your first listen. If I am your first listen today, but if you got a second listen, you should really check out Locked On College Football. Thank you for making me your first one, like I said, but go check out Locked On College Football. From NIL deals to never-ending conference realignment rumors, Spencer McLaughlin gets you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron. You can find the link to Locked On College Football in the description, so you don't need to search, which is part of the Locked On podcast, your team every day. Thanks, guys. Have a great evening. Keep coming back, and we'll see you tomorrow. This episode is over, and I'm out.